Today on this Warhammer 40K competitive battle report summary, we have the World Leaders Vessels of Wrath with 70 Jackals. Yes, 70 Jackals against the Awakened Dynasty, Warrior Blob, and the Silent King and Co. So if you're wondering how these two armies match up against each other, you're going to want to stick around because we're going to go over this 3-hour game in about 30 minutes. I'm going to break down all of what worked, what didn't work, and really just passing all that knowledge on to you. So even if you're not a Necron player or World Leaders player, I think you're going to get a lot of value out of this video today. So I appreciate you sticking around, and let's get into it. So today we are playing Lichpin, and we are on the tipping point deployment, and we have the new Goremongers, all right, with the World Eaters, all right, playing against Justin, fellow teammate of ours, one of our more recent additions on the team, and just a great guy. Love playing him, and he is very good at Warhammer as well, and I just love this list that he came up with. It's very unique, it's very cool, and it functions very well. So I'm going to flip over to the list here so you guys can check them out. And yeah, Vessels of Wrath, feel free to pause it, screenshot it, do what you got to do. I'm going to rotate this camera centered. It's bugging me in my OCD. So there we go. And let's move on to the report, shall we? So we are playing against World Eaters today. And let's go over, before, as I like doing in my battle reports, really kind of breaking down my thought process here and how I'm approaching this matchup. So hopefully, even if you're not a Necron player, this part of the video you're going to get a lot of value out of, and it's going to hopefully make some sense. So he has 3 blocks of 20 Jackals, and then he usually has like a block of 10 that are hanging out on his home objective. Now, the big thing with the Jackals is that they benefit from the Vessels of Wrath rule, where they have the ability to Blood Surge, which is extremely valuable. And then there's a way to give them all a 5-up invul, and then I believe with the blessing, either a 6-up Feel No Pain or a 5-up Feel No Pain. So in simple terms, it's kind of stat checky in a way, but it's just a lot of bodies that are very durable. And you also have to play around a Blood Surge movement as well. So, and then to back that up, I mean, he has 2 Demon Princes that are no slouches right here, and he's got Angry Ron right there, and then some good utility pieces with the Spawn, Forge Feed, and then a couple Lord on Jugs as well. So, going into this match, he also has the Goremongers that infiltrate. So he won the infiltrate roll-off, so he got to deploy these Goremongers first. Obviously, he's staying 9 inches away from my deployment zone. And in this matchup, what was interesting with my flayed ones, or my infiltrate unit, is I didn't really want to put them or line them against the wall here. Mainly because they were a critical resource for me in terms of trying to get rid of his Jackals, because the one unit that has like a really high volume amount of output to get rid of some of these blocks. So if I was able to synergize throughout the game, like being able to get one of his units down below half and then connecting with those flayed ones, it would have been awesome. So maybe a little spoiler, because that definitely did not happen. But we elected to put the flayed ones behind this wall here, 1 inch away, just to conserve the resource, because I know that he's going to be having to shift his resources out on the points, and then it gives me greater flexibility to either do like Heroic Intervene later on, or, you know, being able to move out 5 inches and then, you know, a fairly decent charge to connect with the Jackal unit. So didn't want to play them super aggressively in this matchup. Pretty standard other stuff here. We have the Warrior block set up on the line. Silent King is staged up behind that, so we're protecting all of our resources. I do deploy the Hexmark rather aggressively early, just to force, if he does get a area denial or something like that turn 1, and he has to put pieces on the point, I'm going to be able to get a free Overwatch. And then he's also next to the Silent King, so we're benefiting from the aura there. And then everything else is pretty standard stuff. So Going into the game here, we're getting Lichpin. The World Eaters are going to get to go first. All right. So what we more or less set up here as well that I like to point out is I have a good way to kind of neutralize these Goremongers, because essentially I'm letting him know, I'm like, hey, I'm deploying him 18 inches away. So if you do move the Goremongers, I'm going to get a free Overwatch with them. And I'm high chance I'm going to pick up 6 of them, because I'm hitting on 2s with rerolls, wounding on 2s with rerolls. Because I believe they're toughness 3. They might be toughness 4. I can't remember. So it might have been 3s. But don't quote me on that. But basically, it's efficient. Probably going to pick up most of the squad. So let's fast forward here as we do. And he gets, unfortunately, some pretty dud secondaries turn 1. So he's going to get Bring It Down and Mark for Death, which is going to basically be a CP. So at the end of his turn, this is basically what it looks like. So he's shifting up 20 blob of Jackals. He's staging up everything else behind walls. We got Demon Prince over here, 20 Jackals over here. And then the Goremongers do a beautiful, from what's left, a beautiful little move block right here to make it much more difficult for the flayed ones just to come out and try to get a charge on these Jackals. So really good move on his part. But what was nice going into my turn as I think he moved these guys back. Let's see. I'm trying to remember why exactly we did that. I think because he needed to charge something, or he thought he was going to be able to. Oh yeah, he thought he was going to be able to move block the Warriors, but I told him like that's not really a thing because they like teleport through you. I mean, granted, I still have to land in like coherency. So he kept that unit back instead, and that was the turn. And then we ended up killing the rest of the and the Goremongers ended up shifting over here instead. All right. So going into my turn, so we just let him take that back, because again, guys, good thing to point out, it's a practice game. Don't freaking sweat it. Like, let them, if they need to shift something around, it's whatever. We're trying to practice here. I'll get better. So no big deal. So Goremongers are going to go there, and then we're going to go into my turn. So mainly what we're looking at here as far as going into my turn, we get Cull the Horde and recover assets. I think a big thing for me when it comes to secondary and first turn is if I get 2 duds that I can't score, I'm usually going to spend a CP in cycle 1 to at least get something. Even though I'm going to go down to 0 CP, it just feels really bad, especially when you're going first, if not scoring anything. Granted, there is still a decent chance you could draw another card that's a dud, but, this is Warhammer. This is what we signed up for. So since I got 1 card that I could score, which is recover assets, I was like, all right, Cull the Horde, easy. It's just going to be a bin, and we'll just do recover assets with a Hex Mark and then like a Ghost Arc in the back. Okay, so that's more or less my headspace going into the turn. And then as far as shooting targets, I'm like, okay, he's smart. He put these guys 1 inch away from the wall, so the Scorpec Lord can't connect here for combat, so I would have to swing him around. Scorpecs are going to complete the screen right here. Easy. Locust Destroyer here, screening. Warriors are obviously going to shift up for board presence, and then he left me a nice little pocket that I like to point out right here with the Jackals, which the Silent King is going to take. Because, again, if you've watched some of my mastering videos, we're kind of reading the board in terms of, okay, what type of assets like anti-tank can he bring at this king turn 1? And I know that the Warriors are going to be shifting up. I'll show you that here. The Warriors are going to be shifting up, essentially creating this move block and screening, right? So I know the best that he could do is bringing this Forge Fiend out and connecting with the Silent King. But there's nothing else other than like a Lord on a Jug, which isn't going to do enough to the Silent King. Same thing with like Jackals or something like that. So I was like, all right, cool. We're going to keep the Jackals there. And then we're also, again, making sure we're measuring Angron's base. So we're move blocking him. I have a mastering video coming up later this week where we're going to specifically be talking about move blocking, because I think it's a very critical skill to master against armies like this, Shadow Legion, and many others, are just big flying monsters. So we're staying out of Angron's threat range this way. These are the main targets. I don't want Angron anywhere near the king. And that is what we're doing. So Silent King is going to be firing everything over here. And then Warriors are going to move up, shift up on the points, and everything else is staging up, calling it a day. All right. So a couple things before we go into his turn. It's an interesting thing because it's a, like, him going first is definitely nice, getting that board presence, everything else. But at the same time, it's tough because in an ideal world, I wouldn't want to really give him this much surface area with the Warriors because it does give him a lot of different ways to interact with this unit, which always makes me a little bit nervous, especially playing against a list like this in Blood Surge. But at the same time, like giving him a lot of board presence and just being able just to not blocking lanes and just being able to come through here is also equally a problem. So it's a tough problem to solve. So you're gonna see here, this is just a great game, dude, man. So we got the wall of warriors, and he's like, all right, dude, like full send, let's fucking go. So this is the board state before the charges. So he gets storm hostile, which was perfect. Established locus as far as secondary, so he's gonna have just a unit within here 6 inches to locus, and then storm. We already know he's getting storm. Let's not kid ourselves. All right, so going into the turn, the biggest thing is I didn't want him connecting with the blob more or less back here. And so I knew he was going to basically connect everything over this way. And then he's also trying to go after the flayed one. So I'm going to show you here exactly how everything hit more or less and how we were pulling. So he hits here. I believe he activates these cultists here first. And cultists aren't bad. I mean, in Wars, I mean, it's just a lot of bodies. It's a lot of high volume attacks. And we are just creating this wall and stopping these resources. I mean, this is kind of the best thing I can do more or less against like a list like this, where it's like, okay, I'm going to let you hit me. I'll sequence it correctly where, you know, you're not able to kill enough of the warriors, but then my clapback has to be like really good in order to take care of this. Now, we start pulling models. I can't remember which ones activated first, but we ended up pulling over here. Because in my mind, I'm like, okay, there's a certain time where you're like, you just have to accept like, hey, there are certain matchups where it's like, I am just going to get a 3 on primary going into that turn, especially against a list like this. And it is what it is. And you have to think about like, you're going to score a lot of your primary on the back half because you have to whittle their resources away very quickly. So you're looking to get those big turn 4 and turn 5 primary pushes, especially for me going second. So more or less what the board state looks like is this, and I made a slight error here when I was pulling, which is a good thing to call out, is I really needed to keep a warrior here, even though it would have died because he was a smart player, and he ended up actually piling him with the spawn over at the flayed ones, which you can't see that are behind the wall here, and tied them up, which was huge because that was like the one unit, like I was talking about at the beginning of the game, that I really wanted to connect with the Jackals. So that was like kind of the big, I wouldn't say massive error, but it was definitely a decent error on my part. That is a good thing to point out and improve with on next time. So going into my turn, let's see here. So fast forward here. Yes, there's a little bit of thinking. Okay. So essentially going to bottom of 2, we're going to get a 3 on primary, and we're going to get no prisoners and extend battle lines. So we have the block of warriors back here. There's probably like 10 warriors left with the character, so he did do a very decent dent. I think I did also pop the res orb as well, so that had been used, and then we're chilling also at 4 CP. So we got plenty of CP to work with, and I think on this turn, I think I definitely could have done a better job of sequencing things correctly. And so based on when I was looking at the board, I'm like, okay, Scorpex are going to come up here. They're going to connect with this unit. This Scorpec Lord's going to shift up here. Same thing. We're going to basically try to eliminate this unit of Jackals right here, which I think is a very realistic thing with just the Scorpex and the Scorpec Lord. And there was a massive problem. This was a big error, in my opinion. So I'm very excited to point this out when it comes up. And then we are also looking at, I'm basically just trying to look at getting rid of bodies. So I think a lot of newer players, they would potentially try to get rid of Angron, but against a list like this, you kind of have to figure out ways to like tie up Angron, which Awakened Dynasty can do decently well. And how can I get rid of these Jackals? Because they are way more of the problem because they're taking up board control. They're a lot of OC. They're hard to chew through. And it's just a problem. So And we have no prisoners for the turn as well. So we're going to shift things up here, and I'm going to show you what the board state looks like before shooting here. So it looks like that might have been, oh, okay. So yeah, this is the charge, the shooting turn. So we end up activating the warriors first, and they are going to shoot everything at the, I believe we're actually shooting at the demon prince. And so the demon prince ended up blood surging into, because I need to do a little bit of chip damage before like the Scorpex and everything came in to try to clean the rest of him up. So he does blood surge into the warriors, and he did a really good job of like move blocking the Scorpex a little bit to make it more difficult for them to connect in this space here, which was super clutch. Really good move on Justin's part there. And then fast forwarding the turn here. So this was the next big era. Also, the other thing is I didn't want to play the king too aggressively here. I mainly wanted him to basically just shoot all the jackals here, and then I think I charge in the king to these jackals here to try to clean up this unit. So I had a good sequence, everything set up where I was like, okay, the king's going to connect here with the king and his shooting and everything else should be able to clean up these jackals. This cleans up these jackals, and then this cleans up all of these guys here. Like, I felt like I read it right, but I think I just misplayed a couple things here. So the first is the Scorpec Lord, which you can't necessarily plan for, but the Scorpex landed a little bit of a higher charge, but I was thinking about, okay, I need to have a few bodies on the point, just in case the Scorpex whiff, because again, these guys have a 5-up invul, you never know, and the feel no pain. And so I was like, okay, I need to have a couple Scorpex on the point here because you just never know. But I probably could have based a Scorpec like over here, because what ended up happening is the freaking Scorpec Lord rolls a 6 on his mortal wounds, and then I roll it into a 5, I think. And so I ended up doing 6 freaking mortal wounds to this Jackal unit, which is great. But the problem is Justin is a good player, and you already know what's going to happen. He pulls all of these, so it's just out of 4 inches for those Scorpex to charge. So I literally committed like all of those resources for nothing. Now they're just sitting in the open getting charged. So that was just like, that was rough. That happened, and then the Scorpec Lord ended up charging into the Demon Prince. We ended up killing the Demon Prince, and then he heroic intervened with this Demon Prince onto the Scorpec Lord. He ends up bouncing because this is the Scorpec Lord with the Feel No Pain, and that is essentially the board state going into round 2. Now, the next thing I like to point out is it's tough to say because I think it was probably the right call not to charge the warriors into, or like move them 5 and then charge into the jackals. The reason being is because he could have heroic intervened with the Demon Prince, and that one still could have done like a decent amount of damage to the, like, where I wouldn't have netted any more warriors from the fight phase strat and then the Ghost Arc, because the Ghost Arc can be used once per turn, twice per battle round. So the warriors are chilling there, and this is the board state going into top of 3. Okay, so he's going to get a big old 13 on primary because the Silent King got move blocked here. We got Lord on Jug here. He's got this, and he's got this sticky. Okay. We're going to fast forward here, and then we have this hex mark over here because we're basically like, I'm like hands in. I was like all in on bottom of 2. Hey, you push your entire army. I'm going to push all of mine and then see where we end up. And I just kind of sequence things incorrectly. Now, the second biggest thing that I think Justin did incorrectly here is I think 1,000% he sends Angron over here for the Silent King. Reason why is because, like, I hate mentioning this, but for those of you that don't know, I'm just going to tell you, if you don't play Necrons and you got like Angron, you can spend 1 CP, you can epic challenge, and then you don't got to kill the Miniers because the Miniers aren't characters. So most of the time, Angron with an epic challenge probably kills the Silent King, unless I like roll above average on my invuls. But so that, you know, that's for you World Eater players at home. Little tip for you that you can do. But maybe a lot of you already remember that. So But he ends up sending Mr. Angron over here, has a nice little pocket. I don't mind that. I'm like, hey, if he wants to go after Xeris or one of these characters, that's totally fine. Because he might bounce, he probably does kill him, but then I can just spend a CP and bring him back. We're just trying to stall Angron and get rid of these freaking Jackals. So he moves the other Lord on Jug up here. And we're just going to play this out here, speed this up along. Okay, so this is top of 3. He gets behind enemy lines and recover assets. So he's not going to recover this turn, but he is going to get behind enemy lines with Angron. He pushes the Jackals in again and again. Look at the board control he's establishing here. So he essentially has this much of the board. Okay, so he is really, like, this is what you love to see. Like, if you want tips on how to fight this Awakened brick, and you don't have an answer necessarily of how to kill the warriors, this is how you do it. Okay, so you're going to see here that he's really establishing board control. He charges the Jackals in again, which I don't necessarily mind. But the warriors are definitely pretty hurt right now. I think they're basically at half. And they've already used their res orb. So we go in, he charges in, he ends up, I heroic intervene with the Scorpec Lord to try to do some damage. And then these Exalted 8-bound fail their charge on this, or these might have been regular 8-bound, I can't remember. And then they miss this charge on the Locust Destroyer, but he does connect on the Scorpec Lord. Okay, so going to the turn, he's going to clean up some warriors. We're going to pop our res strat and our Ghost Arc, so you're going to see those warriors come back. And then thankfully it wasn't enough. I had enough warriors. I think I rolled really well. I think I got like double. I think I got 6 from the strat and actually 6 from the Ghost Arc on that turn, which was huge. So I had enough bodies on here where Angron couldn't just like one-shot me. And then these Exalted 8-bound on my natural expansion ended up bouncing off the Scorpec Lord, which was super, super helpful. And then let me actually see that there. Sorry about that. So let's see here. So I'm trying to think. I'm trying to see where. Okay. So this is essentially the board state going into bottom of 3. So I'm going to get a 3 on primary again. Okay. Now, this is what I love about Warhammer. Okay. Can't get flustered. All right. Maybe things aren't going right. I mean, look at the board state. It's like I almost have like nothing left and he's just like all up in my business. Okay. But he made a second crucial error. All right. You're going to see here. His home objective is wide freaking open. I mean, look at this beautiful oasis we have back here. I was like, dude, you know I got to do it. He's like, I know, man. I know. So we took Mr. Hexmark right here with the Veil. Talk about him all the time. He's the MVP all the time. I love him. He's great. We pick him up, and I drop this boy right back here behind the wall. Okay? And he's got loan up. So now we're going to play a little primary game, and I'm sitting really good where I'm like, man, I could actually legit hand him a 3 on primary going into his turn because I know I can lock this objective down. I know I can lock this one down. I'm going to lock this one down. The king's going to shift over and lock this one down. And if I can kill enough here and I can tie this one, then we're chilling. And then he's just going to hold this one because the way the board state was, there was no way I could interact with this center objective. Okay, so no way we can interact with that. So going into my turn, we're going to get Sabotage, Storm, Hostile. Not a turn I could Storm. I'm kind of CP starved right now. As you can see, I only have 1. So we just held that and called it good. So we get Storm for 4. That's going to be easy. We're just going to shift up the king up on his natural expansion. You're going to see that play out. Hexmark boy just moves over here. I actually put him right here just to shoot at him because I'm like, you know, he's got like there's no way like he's not gonna come over and just kill him. I was like, you know, maybe I crazy spike on my shooting and then Overwatch next turn and then maybe I kill him. You know, maybe like there's a chance. But it's a prayer. So and then the king. This was an interesting sequence where I basically shot all of the stars here. We did staff. Actually, no, I actually shot everything at the Lord on Jug. And this is where people can get in trouble with the sequencing because they have the invul. So a lot of times, like, if I think I remember correctly, I left him on 1 wound before I did the indirect star shot. That wasn't indirect, obviously, and that actually killed him. So if I would have gotten greedy, I would have killed some Jackals, sure. It wouldn't have been enough to take him off the point. It doesn't matter. And then the Lord of Jugs still would have been on 1 wound, running around, scoring and containment, doing actions, all that sort of thing. So really good thing to point out there. Sometimes you just, especially on things with 4-up invulns, you just have to make sure they're going to die. And the reason why we're going after this is because I know I can just charge this, potentially tank shock it in combat if I need to, and then just tie it up and beat it down. Okay. So this is essentially the board state going into bottom of 3, which it's looking very interesting at this point. Like, I don't have a lot left. He doesn't have a lot left. It's just a freaking bloodbath. All right. So we got Necron over here. We still have a Demon Prince, which you can't see, and a Spawn that are like hanging out right here behind this wall. And then the King charges here. Doesn't end up killing the Forge Fiend. And then we have a Hexmark here. Okay. So going into top of 4. He's going to get a 3 on primary. He's going to get extend battle lines, engage in all fronts. He couldn't have asked for anything better. Easy peasy. I mean, look at this. He's got this quarter locked. He's got this quarter locked. He's got them all. So he's going to get an easy 4 on engage. Love to see it. And then he's going to get extend battle lines. He's already got that from the Jackals over here that I can't quite interact with the center yet. And then we are going to give him a 3 on primary, which is great. And then fast forwarding the turn here, Necron, you're going to see here. Let's see. So he charges in. See here. You'll see. Okay. Let me fix this here. So he is going to move his Demon Prince over here. Super smart. Because again, he's trying to connect with the belly of the combo. Okay, so this also gives him the ability to epic challenge out Oricon, but I think he had enough output almost to like wipe the squad. But what ended up happening is he goes in, he epic challenges the characters. He actually kills them both on the nose because the Crypto Thralls were already removed from the unit at this point, so I didn't actually have the 4-up Feel No Pain on Oricon. I don't know if it really would have saved me like much in this situation, but it is something to point out. Maybe could have done a little bit better job there as far as like sequencing. We did end up not bringing back Oricon because bringing back one of these characters was much more important because it involved more points. And the Warriors were doing their job at this point where I'm just like, hey, just lock down my home field, be annoying, tie up these assets, and just let me go do this other stuff around the board. Okay. So this is the board state going into bottom of 4. So basically I have nothing left. This Jackal unit that I probably should have killed in round 2 is still just running around. Oh gosh, man, it was so freaking frustrating. And then he fell back from the Silent King here, which was interesting. I'm not sure exactly why he did that. Because then it also opened up the door for me to just shoot at no minuses, and then also doing like a charge and a tank shock again. But the game was like a few days ago, so I can't quite remember like the very granular specifics. But he did fall back. Scoreback Lord still tied up there. And this is bottom of 4. We get behind enemy lines and defend stronghold. And we unfortunately have to discard defend stronghold at the end of the turn because the way the game was going, I felt like he was definitely going to be able to have enough to deny me on that point that turn. But we still end up shifting. The Ghost Ark had enough movement to shift over this way. Shift the Reanimator over here to try to keep these assets safe. And then on the point to get OC on there just to prepare for the Warriors dying. The Warriors obviously fall back. He pops the strat for Desperate Escape. So on a 1 or 2, they just die. And then at this point, we're trying to go after Angry Ron. And I think at this point, he's on 4 wounds. I think it's, yeah, he was close. He was close. This is bottom of 4. So we end up bringing everything out. And I think he just crazy spikes and we don't kill him. I think, yeah, we got him down to like 2 wounds. It was actually just insane. Like just a huge flop from what I remember on turn 4. And so going into turn 4, but we did give him a 3 on primary in turn 4, and then we also give him a 3 on primary again going into turn 5 because the only objective that he controls is this one up here. And this is his turn 5. He's going to get overwhelming force and area denial. So he's going to control this one for baby because this Scorpec Lord is going to be able to res to deny his area denial there. And then Angry Ron cleans up the rest here, but remember that we're scoring primary at the end of the battle. So I didn't mind as far as like not controlling the point as of right now. I expected that to happen, but I knew that I could get these resources in a place where at this point I can shift the Ghost Ark and the Reanimator on the point that's going to be 8OC, and then I'll be able to hold my home. We'll be able to hold this objective, and then it came down to holding either this one or this one. And so what ended up happening is I get Assassination and Engage on all fronts. So just like the last game, what it came down to is me killing Angron with 1 wound left, which was, again, he like, I handed him, I think he made like 6 4-ups in a row. And I was like, dude, is this actually happening? And I can't remember exactly what ended up killing him. I think it was like a Locust Destroyer. One of these, or I think it might have been Xeris. It was either Xeris or like one of the star shots from the Silent King. So we ended up getting Angry Ron, killed him for assassination, and then we ended up killing enough here to out OC him on this objective. So we ended up controlling this objective, this one, and this one at the end for 13 points, and then we edged it out 65 to 62. So this is what the board state looked like at the end. And man, what a freaking game, dude. It was so good. Definitely got scrappy with it. Turns 3 through 5. I think definitely if he would have not moved that Lord on Jug like he did. Fast forward here, where was that at? We got to go back a little bit here. Yeah, so if he wouldn't have gone, like, this was kind of a bait move a little bit, but if he wouldn't have left this objective, I could remember what my hotkeys are. If he wouldn't have left this objective, I think like he definitely would have hands down won the game, because that was just like a massive swing in points. Because then at that point now it's so easy for me to give him 3s and 3s on primary instead of potentially like 8s and 13s, because I held his home. So that was like super valuable. And yeah, the couple errors on my side, I mean, just kind of missequencing some pile-in moves on the Warriors. I think for him, it was mainly just Angron should have gone after the Silent King. And I think the Lord on Jug shouldn't have left this point. I think those are like the 2 biggest errors for him. But all in all, man, great freaking game. And dude, we'll have to run it back again soon. So, and yeah, appreciate you guys watching. And if you stuck around, catch you in the next one.